What is up, everybody? My name is Jericholic8704, here to bring you another episode, another installment of Raw Is Jericholic8704. So how is everyone doing today? Well, after this Raw, I'm doing pretty horrible. But anyway, we have, let's just dive right in. We have Raw, July 16th, 2003, from Indianapolis, Indiana. Kane recap, the same as usual. Every Raw is going to start with some sort of recap of something, whatever dastardly deed Kane did, him going crazy and all. I will note this in this opening promo, and a lot of Undertaker promos have this too, and I never understood the point of this. Just like randomly throughout the video, there's like three like random girls in white dresses, kind of like those girls from The Shining. Yeah, if you guys have ever seen The Shining, where it's just like those two girls who are just kind of staring into space and like, the matching jumpers or whatever. It's like three girls in these little white dresses and they just appear in random videos. I guess like the idea is just added horror. Maybe the idea of three little girls in white dresses standing side by side with a blank look on their face is frightening to people. I mean, it's kind of creepy now that I think about it, but like still, that's in like every Undertaker and Kane promo, I guess, to instill fear. And they also they distort Kane's face. I kind of feel bad for Kane because like they make him seem like the whole gimmick of this is like Kane doesn't want to appear ugly and he doesn't want his scars to be shown and everything. But they basically are just using Kane's face and saying no one's going to think, like they say it's not a beauty contest. So they're basically saying, hey, Glenn Jacobs, like your face is ugly enough that we could use this in a storyline. So I feel bad for Kane in that sense. So anyway, let's move on. Opening segment, we had a highlight reel. Jericho says that enough is enough. By the way, Chris Jericho is wearing, he's worn this outfit a bunch of times on Raw, but I can finally comment on it. I don't know if it's the best or worst jacket pants combination I've ever seen in my life. It's like the black and white checkered like jacket and pants. But the thing that bothers me about it is like, I think like the pants, the checkered pattern on those, like the squares, like the black and white squares are bigger, and the jacket has a bunch of small black and white squares. So it matches, but it doesn't really match in that sense. So like it's all kinds of messed up. It's like it's so corny and so weird, but like I don't know, I love it. Anyway, Jericho says enough is enough, and the highlight reel has special significance. He says Raw has turned into chaos and something has to be stopped. Jericho says there's one man that can restore order, and that's Eric Bischoff. Bischoff comes out to thunderous boos. Everyone hates him. He comes out with this gigantic neck brace looking like a massive dork. Bischoff says he's supposed to take 8 weeks to heal, but he had to come back to Raw in order to restore the order that was lost by Stone Cold Steve Austin. He says Kane is banned from the building, but there will be a special interview from the WWE headquarters with JR and Kane. Kane tried to kill him, and Jericho's response was, "That's not nice." That was a good moment. Bischoff says there is now exclusive footage of Kane and Rob Van Dam. Now I want to bring this up. There was a great moment of continuity on this show. Last week, and I think I noted this in my Raw report, before Kane came down to the ring, he shoved down a cameraman. And then when they went back to replay the footage of Rob Van Dam and Kane, the same cameraman was still on the ground. I thought that was a great moment of continuity, because I do remember Kane pushing the cameraman down, and they showed it in the little opening promo before the Raw started. So they actually went through with the cameraman being shoved down, and then he gradually got up as Kane and Rob Van Dam went back and forth. So RVD tries to talk to him. Kane just throws him through a cardboard wall for his troubles. Jericho says no one is safe, and Jericho says he could attack anyone, even him, and then everyone loses their minds, and then Jericho plugs his match with HBK. Austin comes out and throws the set around. Jericho tries to talk, and Austin tells him to butt out. That's not a very Austin line, but whatever. Austin says he's going to kick someone's ass, and now he wants to kick Kane's ass. And then Bischoff brings up a very good point. He said, what will that accomplish? And then I paused the show, and I thought about that, because that was probably one of the best lines of 2003 Raw, because that line actually made so much sense. What is beating up a completely psychotic dude going to do? And then Bischoff answered what I was thinking. Is it going to make him even more crazy, more angry, more demented? So Bischoff in this scenario is totally right. I really think this is kind of a weird play they're doing, where Austin is the rambunctious leader, but Bischoff actually has a valid point. You really can't fight fire with Kane, no pun intended. So anyway, Austin kind of blows that off, and he says he's going to whoop a man's ass, and Bischoff looked like the perfect victim. Jericho tells Austin to keep walking because no one wants him here, and then Jericho calls Austin a sanctimonious son of a bitch. He dropped the line a second week in a row, and then Jericho gets stunned for his troubles. It was a fine opening segment, nothing too exciting, but, nothing too spectacular. So then we had a 6-person intergender tag team match. Trish Stratus, Kevin Nash, and Scott Steiner versus Test, Victoria, and Steven Richards. As I was watching the entrances to this match, I got gradually more excited. I was like, Kevin Nash, oh my god, this is going to be hilarious. Scott Steiner, I'm like, even better. And then when I heard Test's music, I cheered so loud. I knew this was going to be a train wreck, and my god, it was. So Richards and Steiner started off, but Test is called out by Steiner. Steiner points at him. He's like, I want you. And Tess is like, oh, I don't want anything to do with this. So Steiner throws Steven Richards into the corner and just starts wailing on him. He really just starts just pounding him right in the face. Then he hits some suplexes, and then Tess is just running on the outside of the ring, just not wanting to get tagged in at all. Trish and Victoria get in the ring, which is probably the best idea considering they're probably the best wrestlers in this match. Victoria goes for a hot shot on Trish, and then Tess grabs Trish's head and assists Victoria in the hot shot, which I guess, increases the damage of the move. So, whatever. So Steiner goes for Test, but he, once again, runs away. And then eventually Test gets a tag, and he's like, all right, I'm in the ring. And, Test is, parading around the ring. He's like, it's my time. It's my turn. He's, doing all this random stuff. And then Coach and King mention how in intergender tag matches, men and women don't touch. You're, quote-unquote, not allowed to. Now, not allowed to can mean a lot of different things. So I interpret it as if you're not allowed to, then you're probably going to get disqualified if you do. So Test begins to grab Trish by the neck and everything, and then Trish just starts wailing on him with forearms, and she just hits maybe 6 or 7 forearms in a row. So I'm like, okay. And then King, I think it was King that noted maybe it's okay for a woman to hit a man in this match, but not a man to hit a woman. And then Tess goes for a clothesline, and Trish ducks. And then Tess hits her with a massive shoulder tackle. He just put all of his weight into it, and she flew back. And then, that kind of sucked the air out of everything. And then all of a sudden, Stacy is leading the crowd in asshole chants. People are being like, asshole, asshole. And then Stacy, turns around, is conducting them. Like a composer or something. And I'm thinking hey, dumbass, your best friend just got laid out by this dude. This dude that outweighs her by 150 pounds just leveled her. Just completely leveled her entirely. So King said that it is legal for men and women to touch. I guess that's a new thing now. I always thought it was illegal for that to happen. I didn't think that happened, but then again, that episode of Total Divas with the shoot Hurricane Rana, I guess that proved me wrong. But then again, that was a quote-unquote shoot, am I right? So Trish and Victoria get in the ring to go at it some more. Again, that's probably the best thing for this match to do, is just let the two best wrestlers in the match do something. And then Nash gets the tag, and so does Test. Test uses Victoria as a shield and then tags in Richards. Nash then double clotheslines Victoria and Steven Richards. So I guess, again, it's okay for Kevin Nash to lay his hands on a woman and stuff like that. I always thought, and I'm not even saying a man can't hit a woman can't hit a man. It's something to do with that. It's I thought in intergender tag matches, it was illegal for someone to touch anyone of the opposite gender. I thought the point was women fight each other, men fight each other. I didn't think you were allowed to do that. I don't think the announcers thought you could do that either, because they seemed to change the rules as the match went along, because the ref never disqualified anyone. So Nash double clotheslines Victoria and Richards, and then hits a powerbomb on Richards for the win. And then I wrote, what the fuck? Because I had no idea what to think about this match. So this gets a dud because of the utter stupidity and lack of continuity in the rules of an intergender tag team match. Then we had a backstage segment with Jericho and Bischoff. Jericho talks about how Austin is out of line and says that this is a publicly traded company and we could lose our sponsors and yada, yada, yada. And then Jericho says there's going to be a change in policy, and he gets a little smile on his face. Then we had Lance Storm versus Maven. Storm cuts yet another index card promo, and he says he will seek legal action if any more people chant boring during his matches. And then the savior to the boredom is, drumroll please, Maven. So apparently Maven is the answer to our boredom. So these two have the most basic wrestling match of all time. And, Storm is an awesome wrestler. But here's the thing. his new gimmick is he's boring. So I think in order to maintain his boring gimmick, he has to have boring matches. We all know Lance Storm can have amazing matches because he's such a great wrestler. But like, seriously, they're just, WWE has told the audience that this guy is boring. They make him wrestle boring matches for the sake of his character. And I mean, like, can you blame the crowd for not, there was no heat for this match, and who could blame them? When you say, this guy is boring, he's not worth your time, when he's in the ring, you should start yawning, that's what people are going to do. They're not going to care about Lance Storm if you say he's boring. It's this stupid, like, backwards philosophy, in not just WWE, in wrestling. Like, I remember in TNA, I know this is a really obscure reference. This is from like 2011. Like, they were trying to get Samoa Joe over, but like in his Bound for Glory series, he had like minus 10 points. Like, who's gonna give a fuck about that dude who keeps losing? I understand that wrestling is fake, and it's all predetermined, and it's all about storyline and everything. But like, if you continuously beat a guy, like, who's going to care? And if you continuously make him look like a dork, who's going to care? Now, obviously, there are some rare exceptions. Like, they really tried to make Daniel Bryan look like a loser, but people just wouldn't give up on him because people knew. Like, in certain cases, some people have that certain connection with the fans. Like, obviously, Lance Storm was never going to get over to the degree of Daniel Bryan. And Daniel Bryan's a better wrestler than Lance Storm. Again, no offense to Lance Storm. I think he would even agree. And then Daniel Bryan, I think, is more relatable than Lance Storm because, Lance Storm, let's face it, doesn't really have that much of a personality, while Daniel Bryan, while his personality isn't the strongest, he had a very likable personality and a very relatable personality. So, I mean, it's rare that you see that with certain people that just get made to look like the biggest loser on planet Earth, but yet people still care about them. But in most cases, it's not going to work. Like the thing with Samoa Joe, where he loses all these matches, and people are supposed to take him seriously as this giant wrecking, house of fire who can snap anyone like a twig. No, he lost. He has minus 10 points. Why would we care about him? So, that kind of pissed me off. And I mean, I just watched this, and people are chanting boring, and then King is burying him on commentary. And I mean, I know it's part of the gimmick. It's not like they are doing this out of ill intent towards Lance Storm. But like, I mean, what do you expect to come out of this? Like, did they really think like Lance Storm would like become this giant babyface because they're going to make him look so bad? Just backwards logic. I mean, if you want someone to be popular, if you want someone to be over, you have them win matches. I mean, it's not that difficult. So anyway, the only time Lance Storm got a quote-unquote personality, according to the announcers, is when he ripped off his elbow pad and started beating up Maven. But anyway, I totally forgot about this match. I totally forgot I was supposed to tell you what happened. Anyway, they have a basic match, and then Storm hits a single leg crab, and then Maven counters it into a roll-up for the win. They cut to JR in Connecticut getting prepped for his interview and yada yada yada. Then we had La Resistance coming out. La Resistance says they're celebrating for two reasons. One, Bischoff is back, and two, it's Bastille Day, aka France's Independence Day. The two sing the national anthem into a commercial break, and then the Dudleys come out, and then Spike is even with them with a flag. And then Bubba and Devon invade the ring, and they throw La Resistance out, and they lead the crowd in singing the Star Spangled Banner. And Bubba and Spike have horrendous voices. And what was funny about this, and when they had Devon sing, Devon was actually pretty good. He wasn't like, the greatest singer in the world, but he was better than Bubba Ray and Spike Dudley, that's for damn sure. But it was kind of hilarious when they'd go to the crowd and there would be people, like, you could hear the crowd definitely cheering unless they pipe that in, which I doubt they would do. But, people were singing along, but they were just, for some people in the crowd, they can't really focus on one single person. They're going to have someone be in the center frame, but other people around them are going to kind of be like, just chilling beside them. It wasn't like everyone was kind of singing along and everyone was into it and everyone was dancing and singing the national anthem. There'd be like one person singing in the crowd and then everyone else kind of just looking like, what the fuck am I watching? I just saw two guys sing France's national anthem, and now we have two guys singing the Star Spangled Banner. Like, get the fuck out. I came here for a wrestling show. Like, who asked for this? Like, really, honestly, this really didn't lead to anything. It didn't lead to a match between the two because the three Dudley boys had a 3-on-3 elimination match with Evolution. So that is up next, Evolution versus the Dudley Boys. Evolution still has this generic ass theme. I don't know when they changed it to the Motorhead theme song, but I'm just desperately waiting for that to happen, because this theme, I mean, it's based on Line in the Sand. I've said that multiple times, but it still sounds so generic, even though it's based on an actual song. I think it's the beginning, because there's just like this random male vocalist going, yeah, 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 and then like it just like the guitar riff starts. So I think that's why I hate the theme song so much. So we had Bubba and Ric Flair starting. Flair wants Spike all of a sudden. He like literally like Bubba Ray and Ric Flair are like wrestling, and then all of a sudden Ric Flair's just like, I want Spike. So Spike and Flair go at it. Spike slaps him, and then Flair does the Flair flop. Orton hits a big drop kick on Spike for the heat. Spike gets a hot tag on Devon, and it all breaks down, and all 6 guys go at it. Spike goes for the Dudley Dog, but Orton counters to the RKO for the elimination. Bubba and Flair go at it some more. They hit they go for a What's Up spot on Flair, which I really wanted to see, because I mean, I bet Ric Flair's been hit with a What's Up spot, but I really don't remember it off the top of my head, and I really want to see how Flair would sell getting headbutted in the nuts from the top rope. I'd really love to see how Flair would respond to that. Triple H breaks it up, but then they hit him with the was up spot. Orton tries to invade, but he gets a 3D, and then he goes for the cover, but Flair pulls out the ref, which sounded DQ for some reason. Flair literally grabs the ref and pulls him out of the ring, and then I think it was Hebner. Hebner just turns around and yells at him for a bit, but he doesn't disqualify him, so what the fuck's that about? So Triple H then invades the ring and hits Devon with the French flag that's still out from when La Resistance came to sing the national anthem, and he hit this guy hard. I mean, I don't know how hard that little flag, I mean, it wasn't like an actual metal flagpole, but it made a smack. When it hit Devon like square in the forehead, you could hear it smack against his head, and it sounded brutal. So I don't know how much it hurt. I mean, Devon didn't really have any blood, or didn't really have like a big bump on his head. I couldn't tell anyway. But I mean, it sounded really painful. So then Bubba tries to get Devon to get the tables even after he's eliminated, but more refs come down and they take Devon away. So Bubba's in a 3-on-1 match against Evolution. He makes the hot tag to himself, and then he tries to splash Triple H on a table, but Flair distracts Bubba and throws him back into the ring, and then Triple H hits a pedigree, and Orton gets the pin for the win. And Orton was bleeding from the mouth somehow. I don't remember when that happened. I can't remember anything from the match that would have led to that, but apparently, something cut him up. It might have been a chipped tooth or something. 2 1/4, this match was okay. It wasn't anything great. I actually think it started off really strong, and then as it went on, it gradually got worse. But, from what it was fine. Then we had a backstage segment with Bischoff and RVD. Rob Van Dam is pretending to be pissed. I say pretending to be pissed because he's a really horrible actor. He's pissed that Kane is in Connecticut and he wants him in the ring. Bischoff says next week on Raw, it'll be RVD versus Kane. Rob Van Dam says he is the one that started everything with Kane and he is going to finish it. Then we had the highlight of the show, a backstage segment with Jericho and Christian and the entire heel locker room. He's in the heel locker room getting signatures for a petition to terminate Steve Austin that he's going to fax to Linda McMahon. I thought the term fax was hilarious considering this is 2003 and fax was still relevant. Do people still fax things anymore? I mean, maybe it still works. I mean, I don't really know the benefits of faxing. I mean, I think like everyone just kind of emails everything to everyone in an attachment. But, I mean, maybe faxing's still a thing. I doubt it, though. If it is, it's probably used, like, for really obscure things. Anyway, the highlight of this was when Christian said he usually charges people for his signature, but this one's on the house, which I thought was pretty funny. Then we had Rodney Mack versus Rosey. There's really nothing to mention about a Rodney Mack match. They're all the same. They all last a minute. What was great about this was Teddy Long's promo beforehand. He was saying how a black man should take the spot of Austin as the co-GM. He mentioned Snoop Dogg and other people, and then he starts a chant of hell no, Stone Cold, and he tries to get the audience to do it, but then they cut to the heel locker room, and Jericho is leading everyone in the hell no, Stone Cold chant, which is absolutely hilarious. So they go back from the break, and Rosie's going ham on Rodney Mack. Rosey lifts Mack, who grazes the ref, and then Long sneaks in and hits a low blow. Mack rolls him up for the win. I'm just going to give it a dud, because who the fuck cares? They try to beat up Rosey some more, and then Hurricane comes out and saves Rosey, and they have a stare down. So maybe this is the start of Rosey, the superhero, in training. Then we had a quick backstage segment of Jericho and Evolution. Jericho sells them on the petition, and they all sign it. That was it. Then we had Booker T versus Christian. And, look, I can no longer stand to see this match. I swear if they have another match, I'm going to scream. And it's not like they're even, the matches aren't even that bad. They're fine. And, I mean, I bet Booker T and Christian could have a really awesome match if given the time. And I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Did they have a match in TNA? I really can't, like a main event match in TNA, not like a throwaway match on Impact or something. But I'm really trying to remember if they had like an actual match, like a big time main event match, even in WWE or TNA. But nothing's coming to my mind right now. I might be forgetting something really obvious, and if I am, please forgive me. Anyway, no, these matches are fine. I've just seen them so many times, and they're all the same. They're all at the same time. They all have, like, the same result. Booker T gets fucked after Christian does something dastardly, except for last week where Booker T actually beat him. So anyway, Booker starts off strong. Christian cuts him off and with the shoulder to the post and then into the stairs. But Booker T hits a big spinning heel kick for his comeback. Booker goes for his stinger splash and then hits the ref, and then Christian hits the unprettier. Nick Patrick comes down to count the near fall. Booker T then hits a bookend for a 2 count, and then Booker T does a spinneroonie. Christian then rolls up Booker T, and Christian uses the ropes for leverage, and then he gets the 3 count, so Christian's celebrating and King's going nuts. And then the other ref comes out and says Christian cheated, and the 2 refs start arguing, and then Austin comes out and says, if you're arguing, take it to the back. I don't want to see it. We have a new ref, and this match is going to be restarted. They go at it for about another minute, and then Christian gets hit with a scissors kick for Booker T's victory. 2 stars, average, nothing amazing. Christian attacks the ref afterwards, and then Austin comes back and just beats the shit out of Christian. And then we had a backstage segment with Eric Bischoff. Bischoff pulls out a retro-ass cell phone and talks to Linda McMahon. And then we had Kane and JR in Connecticut. This isn't the interview yet, it's just a little preview to it. Kane hands JR a present. JR's like, is this for me? And Kane's like, yep. And he's like, okay. And then we had our women's championship match, Gail Kim versus Molly Holly. Both start with some holds. Gail Kim hits a big arm drag. The crowd is absolutely silent for this match. Molly gets the heat. Gail Kim goes for a roll-up and then hits a big clothesline. And then Gail hits a head scissors takeover roll-up for the win. Then we had our main event promo, JR and Kane. So JR opens the present, which is a bottle of gasoline, and Kane threatens JR and says he better not make fun of him. JR shows Kane the same opening promo we saw from this Raw, and JR asks what his reaction to the footage is. He said anger and hatred, which is much like my reaction to this Raw. Kane says he was normal until the fire that was caused by his brother, and that Austin and RVD are trying to make everyone see his burn marks. JR says there are no burn marks, and Kane says he is wrong. Kane says he's a monster, and JR says he sees a man that needs help. JR says Kane needs to let all the hate go, and that the fans, RVD and Austin, respect him and support him. And Kane says, you think so? And he says the people are liars, and JR is a liar. And Kane says he knew JR was going to make fun of him. So then he stands up over JR, and JR is begging and pleading, don't do anything, don't do this to me. And then all of a sudden, Austin's music hits, and Kane immediately turns his head towards the screen. So apparently this is connected. Apparently they can hear him in Connecticut. I guess they had Raw on a TV. I never got the live via satellite feed that The Rock usually has for his segments, but whatever. Austin's music hits, he goes down to the ring, he calls Kane a son of a bitch, and he says, put the gasoline down, don't do anything. Kane says the only way for people to understand him is if they feel his pain. Kane throws gas on JR, he throws him on the ground, punches him to knock him out, and then he lights him on fire. Austin was begging and pleading not for Kane not to do it. All the other people around were telling him not to do it, so he sets JR on fire. JR starts screaming. Kane walks away, and then eventually they get a fire extinguisher to extinguish the flames on JR's body, but he is passed out from the pain. So as Austin looks in horror, you hear Bischoff off screen going, damn you, Austin, damn you to hell. And he said, next week, Linda McMahon will be here, and she will fire you. And that's the end of Raw. The final segment was fine. I actually kind of enjoy it in a way. I kind of like, I've mentioned this before. I really like the idea of Kane having, like, you know, these emotional scarring and him thinking that these burn marks are here and it's all psychological. I know it's a really easy cop-out for him not having burn marks on his face, but I think for what it's worth, it is actually a good storyline. And I think Kane can play this storyline really well because Kane is one of the better actors on the show. He's one of the better talkers on the show. I really think they could have done something with Kane, but the problem with this storyline is they really kind of had Kane feuding with, I don't want to say irrelevant people, but as we know, later down in the summer, he's going to start feuding with Shane McMahon. And I mean, he's feuding with RVD, which makes sense for the time being, but this is going to drag all the way till SummerSlam, which is, you know, in late August. So I mean, like, I feel like if the blow off to Kane and RVD was next week on Raw in the main event, that would be, and then maybe you could have Kane go after the world title. I mean, I already did my rebooking of Kane where I thought he should have unmasked, he should have won the title at Bad Blood and then unmasked at Bad Blood as a way to sell the pay-per-view, and then hold the title till SummerSlam where Goldberg can finally beat him in the Elimination Chamber. But again, I'm not going to go into that. That was just my quick, if you want to know my quick rebooking of Kane in summer 2003, it's on one of the other episodes of this little series I have, which is probably really bad, but whatever. So anyway, I do enjoy the Kane storyline. It's just I really feel like they weren't utilizing Kane to his fullest potential in terms of not Kane's performance, but who Kane was associated with. So overall, this Raw was pretty boring. Nothing exciting happened. Even, a man getting set on fire really couldn't save this show. I thought Jericho was obviously leaps and bounds the best part of the show. Jericho and Bischoff, I should say. But overall, this Raw was pretty average, pretty subpar, nothing memorable on the show at all. Even Test didn't have any great moments, so that's when you know this Raw was kind of a failure. So that's it for me. I will see all of you later.